Okay, so here's the second video, and this one's going to be about changing traction tires. And I'm going to do a steam engine, and then I'm going to switch over and do a diesel engine. One of the things I didn't mention in the first video are some of the tools that I use. Most of them people have laying around the house. The Phillips screwdriver, of course, a couple different sizes help out. For basically any service, this foam cradle or any foam cradle that you want to make, some people do them homemade with carpet. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that you just get something that protects the engine's detail, protects the paint job. So for this particular job, changing traction tires, what you'll need is a Phillips screwdriver, and you won't need that for the steam engines. Actually, you will need it for the steam engines, and you'll need it for the diesel. You'll need a 5mm nut driver. Let's turn it the right way so you can see it. 5mm nut driver. What this does is this takes off the side rod bolt so that you can get the traction tire off. And then what you'll want is a small flat-bladed screwdriver. You can also use an X-Acto knife. However, the X-Acto knife is sharp and will cut the new traction tire. Now, when you use an X-Acto knife, you can use it to cut the old one off. It makes it a lot easier. But getting it back on, you don't want something sharp that's going to tear the new traction tire. And then what I use also is just some isopropyl alcohol to clean the wheel off. And that makes sure that the surface of the wheel is nice and clean when you go to put the new traction tire on. I also recommend one of these nice little LED flashlights. You can pick them up real cheap. Helps you see in to areas on the engine, and they're real cheap. They're nice and easy. Okay, so what we'll do is start by taking the old traction tire off. And I'm just going to set this here so you can see it. And your traction tire is on the driven set of wheels. So on this is a Dreyfuss Hudson, or Premier Dreyfuss Hudson. You have two traction tires, here and here, this wheel set right here. You'll notice that the other ones don't have any traction tires on them. It depends on the engine. Some engines have 4 traction tires. Most of them have just 2 on steam engines. So what you want to do is, first off, start by removing that side rod nut. And this is where your 5mm nut driver comes in handy. I'll just loosen that up and remove it. There's the nut. And on these wheels, you can see that the side rod, if you pull it out and away, you can see that there's a post right there. That's part of the wheel, and this side rod sits right in there. So you want to pull that away to get the old traction tire out and get the new one in. So like I said, the easiest way to get the old traction tire off is to just cut it off. I'm going to show you how to take it off without ruining it in case you ever needed to save it. Not that you should, not that you normally would, but just in case. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to vary from engine to engine, you have these brake details on the side of the engine, right here and right here. And in order to get this tire off, it's kind of like a bicycle chain. You want to get everything out of the way as much as you can. So you have to stretch it to get it on, and it can be difficult sometimes. So I'm going to make it a little bit easier on myself, and I'm going to get this one brake detail off of here. You'll notice after I get these off of here, so you'll notice I've got the 2 brake details off now. As you can see, they're removed. And if you look at the screw holes, right next to them are alignment holes. And when you look at the brake detail part, you can see, I'll take the screw out of here, you can see that you have the hole for the screw, and then you have this alignment pin that's cast into the part. That pin lines right up with that hole. That way you can't inadvertently put the part in the wrong way, and you also can't get it so close to the wheel that it starts dragging on the traction tire. So now that we have the side rod nut removed, we've got the brake details removed, we can get the traction tire off of there. And so I'm just going to take your little flat bladed screwdriver, put it underneath there, and you want to just pull this back gently, and this is why it's easier to cut them off. And then there's your traction tire. And you can see that they get worn out, they get shiny, they crack after years of use. This is something that you'll probably want to change. You'll know when you want to change them, because you'll start losing traction. They'll fall off if they stretch out. If you have a wheel that's dragging or something like that, they'll fall down and they'll just be rolling around the wheel. So now we have the surface of the wheel here, and you can see it's shiny and black. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my alcohol and a little paper towel, by the way, that's one of the other things that you're going to want to get, is a box of shop towels. Come in handy. Q-tips are also really good for this type of job. So I'm just going to clean off the surface of this wheel as best I can. And again, Q-tips will come in handy too, because you can get down underneath the bottom side of the wheel. This will be the top side of the wheel, since we're looking at, we've got the engine upside down. Clean that off, and that'll make sure that any oil or grease or anything that's picked up over its life is removed. It'll give it a nice surface for the back end of the traction tire to stay on the wheel. Now the wheels on these they're flanged, of course. Inside on the riding of the wheel, there's a little lip on each side, and that's the depth of that little groove in there is set for the thickness of the traction tire. So the groove is the thickness of this traction tire. That way the engine sits level on the track. So now what we want to get for this is the correct traction tire. There's a traction tire chart available, and I'll post a link to it on the bottom of this video, that you can select the engine type, and it's just a spreadsheet. Just select the engine, just look at the engine type, and it'll give you the part number that applies to that type of engine. In this case, we have a DE31 traction tire, and we sell them in packs of 25. And if you've got a nice roster of engines, it's good to have a pack of 25, because you'll change traction tires at least once a year. It's always a good idea to do that. So now that we have our new traction tire, we're going to now slip this, and you'll see that the traction tire is, when they come in the pack, they're all sort of oriented one direction. You have and it's tough to see on camera, you have a dull side and you have a shiny side. The dull side is going to be the one that's going to go on the inside riding of the wheel. So now we will slide the new traction tire in place. Alright, so I've got the new traction tire slid behind the side rod, and now what you want to do is get it up over this portion of the wheel, and I'm going to turn this a little bit so you can see it. So what I have is I have part of the traction tire right here, and And then you want to support the traction tire so it doesn't roll off of here. And then you want to start moving the traction tire into the groove, and this is where this little small flat bladed screwdriver comes in handy. And the idea with this is it's going to take you some practice, it's going to take you some time. One of the important things that you do not want to do is twist the traction tire on the wheel. You want to make sure that it's flat all the way around. So I'm just going to kind of work this around, and this can be difficult, especially depending upon where that side rod is. Alright, and through the magic of video editing, I got the traction tire on. It took me all told about another 2 minutes that you didn't see in the video. So just work slowly, work your way around the wheel, just hold it down with your fingers. You can use tape if you want even, it's okay. Everybody's going to have their own little technique that they're going to develop for replacing traction tires. You know, anybody that wants to leave a comment below that says, hey, you know, I do this or I do that to speed this along, by all means, please. So now we've got the traction tire on. Hooray. Now we can go in and put our side rod screw in. Started, and then tighten that screw up, and all we need to do is put our brake detail back in place. And again, you got the alignment pin goes there. Screw in place. There's one detail. Same thing with this one. You've got the little alignment pin right there. The second screw in. So now you have this traction tire done. All you have to do the other side is simply repeat the exact same process. So the next engine that I do will be a diesel engine, and these are much easier for you. Okay, so now we've got the diesel engine, and this one happens to be a U25, and these are nice and easy, actually, especially compared to the Steam. So same tools you'll need. You'll need the Phillips screwdriver. You need the little small flat bladed screwdriver. You won't need the 5mm nut driver because there's no side rod screw. And you will want the alcohol and a rag or paper towel, and Q-tips work fine too. And then you'll need a traction tire. In this case, for a lot of diesels, the wheel size is pretty much the same. A DE18 fits a lot of diesels. And again, reference the traction tire chart to find out exactly what you want. They're all based on the size, the diameter of the wheel. So on this diesel, it's nice and easy. And I'm going to show replacing this traction tire. On this diesel, you've got two trucks, here and here. You've got a set of traction tires on this wheel set, and a set of traction tires on this wheel set out here. So there's 4 total traction tires. So all you need to do, now like I said, I'm just going to replace this one right here. You'll notice the truck side on these engines right here, this black metal. Most of these have screws that hold that truck side in place. There are a few engines that don't, and it's going to be much like the Steam engine where you got to work it around and hold it in place and get it underneath there. But most of them have 2 screws. And there's the truck side removed from the engine. And now you got a nice clean shot at this wheel right here to get that off. So take your small flat blade screwdriver, pry it underneath there, and there's your old traction tire. Just like the wheels on the steam engine, there's a little groove in there. The thickness of the depth of the groove matches the thickness of the traction tire. And again, you can see these traction tires. Now, with any traction tire, you can extend the life a little bit if you use some alcohol on them to clean off the grime and grease and stuff that builds up on your rails. Where you really run into a problem with the traction tires, like I said earlier, is that they'll stretch. And once they stretch and once they fall off, they won't go back on. They won't stay back on. Some people put super glue on there, but all that does is makes it much more difficult to get off. Then you got to get all the super glue residue off the wheel, and it creates more problems. So just get the traction tire, a new one. And like I said, you can get these in packs of 25, so you can do a bunch of diesels. And there's your new traction tire. And again, they're a little bit smaller than the original ones because they haven't stretched yet. So just like your steam engine, get this guy started around the wheel. Take your flat blade screwdriver, get it around there and just kind of work it around. Hold it in place. And I forgot one thing, and that is, glad I didn't get too far into this. Just clean off that wheel too with a little bit of alcohol. And you can see what builds up underneath the traction tire between that and the wheel. So alcohol dry off real quickly, and then get the new one set in place. There you go. I didn't even have to edit this video for that one. So you can see that it is much easier to do. And then just make sure that it's just like the steam engine, make sure that it's set evenly in there and it is not twisted. And you'll know if it's twisted, the engine will bounce down the rail. So there you go. You got a new traction tire on this wheel right here. To do the other one, same thing, just remove that screw and that screw right there, and that other truck side will come off, and replace that traction tire, then repeat for the other truck. So now that I've got that on there, you can see that the truck sides go in and set just like that. You almost can't put them in upside down. They'll look really funny if you do. You also have some problems trying to get it to run. There's one screw. And there you go. This truck side's back in place. New traction tire, and you can see it compared to the old one. New one's, you know, nice dark black. This one's gray and worn out pretty well. And that's it. That's how you change the traction tires on a steam engine. And again, the steam engine I used was a Dreyfuss-Hudson, a Premier Dreyfuss-Hudson. And this diesel engine is a U25. The procedure is the same for just about every diesel and just about every steam engine. So that's how you change the traction tires on a steam engine and a diesel engine. Feel free to leave any comments below, and I will see you guys next time for another video. Thanks.